What happens when the one you trust most becomes the one who destroys you? For Sarah Whitlock, life as an Omega in the Silverwood Pack meant invisibility. She kept her head down, performed her duties in the pack house kitchens, and tried not to dream of more. But her wolf whispered of destiny, of a bond that would elevate her beyond the bottom rung of the hierarchy where she'd spent her 22 years. When Alpha Darius Thornwood publicly declared her as his fated mate at the Harvest Moon ceremony, the entire pack watched as a lowly Omega was lifted to stand beside their leader. For 3 perfect weeks, she believed the moon goddess had finally seen her. But when Darius rejected her in front of 300 witnesses, severing their bond with a silver blade across their joined palms, everything changed. And what happened next, no one was prepared for. Not even the ancient prophecy knew her pain would become her power. The Harvest Moon ceremony was meant to be Sarah's coronation. Instead, it became her execution. She stood on the raised platform in the center of the clearing, the autumn wind carrying the scent of wood smoke and falling leaves. 300 pairs of eyes watched as Darius circled her like prey, his massive form radiating alpha dominance. His scent, forest floor, dying embers, ozone before a storm, and cold steel, wrapped around her, though now it carried something else, disgust. I, Darius Thornwood, Alpha of the Silverwood Pack, hereby reject you, Sarah Whitlock, as my fated mate. His voice carried across the silent clearing, each word a physical blow. Sarah's legs trembled. Darius, please! The moon goddess made a mistake. His amber eyes were pitiless. An Omega cannot stand beside an Alpha. You would weaken our bloodline, embarrass our pack, and undermine everything I've built. Behind him, Victoria Blackwood smiled, her beauty as sharp as broken glass. Her scent, cinnamon, iron, and blood, had been all over Darius for the past 3 days. Victoria was a beta from the Northern Territories, ambitious and ruthless, with connections to 3 of the 5 ruling packs. She was everything Sarah wasn't: powerful, confident, politically valuable. Do it, Victoria purred. Break the bond. Show the pack you choose strength over sentiment. Darius pulled a silver blade from his belt. In werewolf law, a fated bond could only be severed by silver and alpha command, witnessed by the pack. It was supposed to be impossible to endure, a pain so profound that wolves died from it. He grabbed Sarah's wrist, his grip bruising. The mate mark on her inner forearm, a glowing symbol of interlocked crescent moons, pulsed with desperate light. I reject this bond. He drew the blade across their joined palms, where their marks aligned. I sever this connection. I deny the moon goddess's choice. The pain hit like lightning through her veins. Sarah screamed, the sound raw and animal. The bond didn't just break, it shattered, fragments of connection tearing through her chest like glass. She felt Darius's presence rip away from her soul, leaving a chasm so deep she couldn't breathe around it. Her wolf howled in agony, thrashing inside her mind, clawing to reach the mate that was being stolen. She collapsed to her knees, blood dripping from her palm onto the platform. The pain was everywhere, her bones, her blood, her heart. She couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't. Remove her from pack lands, Darius commanded. His voice was flat, emotionless. She has until dawn to cross our borders. After that, she's fair game for any wolf that finds her. 2 guards hauled Sarah to her feet. Her vision swam, the world tilting violently. Through the haze of pain, she saw her parents in the crowd. Her mother looked away. Her father's expression was carved from stone, empty of sympathy. Please, Sarah whispered, looking at them. Please help me. Her mother flinched but didn't move. Her father turned his back. The guards dragged her through the parting crowd. Wolves whispered as she passed, their scents mixing into a nauseating cocktail of satisfaction, pity, and schadenfreude. Someone laughed. A child asked their mother why the Omega was crying. At the border, the guards threw her into the dirt and walked away without a word. Sarah lay there as the harvest moon rose overhead, full and merciless. The pain in her chest hadn't faded. If anything, it was getting worse, spreading through her limbs like poison. She tried to stand, but her legs wouldn't hold her. The forest stretched ahead, dark and endless. Silverwood territory was surrounded by wilderness on 3 sides and human lands to the south. She had no money, no supplies, and winter was coming. The first snow began to fall as she crawled forward. 3 days later, Sarah knew she was going to die. The blizzard had come out of nowhere, turning the world into a whiteout nightmare. She'd found a half-collapsed barn on the 2nd day, some forgotten remnant of human habitation long since reclaimed by the forest. The roof leaked, and the walls did nothing to stop the wind, but it was better than dying in the open. She huddled in the corner, shivering violently despite the thin blanket of moldy hay she'd pulled over herself. The rejection wound on her palm had stopped bleeding, but refused to heal properly, the edges black and angry. Her wolf had gone silent after that first night, retreating so deep inside that Sarah couldn't feel her at all. The pain in her chest had transformed into a constant, gnawing emptiness, like someone had carved out her heart and left a hollow space that the cold could reach into. She closed her eyes, too tired to shiver anymore. "This is it," she whispered to the empty barn. Her breath came out in white puffs, but each one was getting smaller. Weaker. "I'm sorry, girl. I'm so sorry." Her wolf didn't answer. Sarah let the darkness take her. The user prompt is empty, so I cannot determine the primary language. However, based on the thinking block being in English, here is my summary. Orchestrated narrative progression through established story structure. I'm building the story following the structure provided. I've completed Act 1, setup and public rejection, and the beginning of Act 2, near death. Now I need to continue with her rescue by the wolves. Let me continue with the discovery of the wolves protecting her. She woke to warmth. No, not warmth, heat. A wall of it pressed against her on all sides, so intense, she thought she'd somehow caught fire. Sarah's eyes fluttered open, her vision blurry and unfocused. The barn was still dark. But she could see better than she should have been able to. Shapes surrounded her, massive and breathing. Wolves. Her heart should have hammered with fear. Instead, something inside her, deep in that wounded, empty place, stirred with recognition. She counted them as her vision cleared. 1, 2, 3 at her back, 4 and 5 flanking her sides, 6, 7, 8, forming a semicircle around her, 9 standing guard at the barn's entrance, and 10. The 10th wolf sat directly in front of her, larger than any she'd ever seen. His fur was silver white, almost luminescent in the moonlight filtering through the broken roof. His eyes were the color of a winter storm, pale gray with threads of electric blue. When he looked at her, Sarah felt the weight of centuries in his gaze. They'd formed a living barrier around her, their combined body heat keeping her alive through the blizzard. She could smell each of them distinctly, aged oak and winter snow and pine from the leader, sharp mint and leather from one of the others, rain and earth from another. 10 different scents, none of them threatening, all of them protective. "You," Sarah's voice cracked, "you saved me." The silver wolf's ears flicked forward. Then he stood, his massive form unfolding to a height that made her gasp. He was easily 4 feet at the shoulder, larger than any alpha she'd encountered. The shift happened so smoothly it looked like water flowing upward. One moment wolf, The next moment, man. He was older than she'd expected, perhaps in his 40s, with silver threaded through dark hair that fell to his shoulders. Scars marked his chest and arms, the white lines of old battles. But his face was striking, all sharp angles and fierce intelligence. He wore simple leather pants, as though he'd known he'd be shifting back. "We've been waiting for you," he said. His voice was deep, resonant, carrying an authority that made her wolf finally stir inside her mind, not with fear, with hope. Waiting, Sarah pushed herself up on shaky arms. Who are you?" The man knelt before her, his storm-gray eyes never leaving hers. "My name is Cale Stormborn. I am the commander of the Wraithguard." He gestured to the 9 wolves behind him. "And you, Sarah Whitlock, are the one we've searched for across 4 territories and 15 years. "I don't understand." Her head was spinning. "The Wraithguard? I've never heard of. Few have." One of the other wolves shifted, a woman with bronze skin and golden eyes. Her black hair cropped short. "We serve a purpose older than the pack system, older than the alliance of territories. We serve the prophecy." "Lyssa speaks the truth," Cale said. "What do you know of the matriarch, Sarah?" The word sent electricity down her spine. The matriarch. That's just a story. A legend mothers tell their cubs. Legends are truths that time tried to forget. Kyle's hand moved toward her, then paused, asking permission. When she didn't pull away, he gently turned her left arm over, exposing her inner forearm. The mate mark from Darius had faded to a dull scar, but beneath it, something else was becoming visible. Faint lines of silver, forming a pattern she'd never seen before. "The binding is breaking." "What binding?" "The one placed on you as an infant." His voice was gentle but firm. "Your parents bound your power with ancient magic, sealing away what you truly are. They did it out of fear. The last matriarch was hunted by those who saw her power as a threat. Your mother and father thought they were protecting you by making you weak." The words hit like physical blows. "My parents did this? They made me an Omega?" "You were never an Omega." Cale's hand wrapped around hers, warm and steady. "You are the matriarch reborn, the one the prophecy foretold. And the rejection that should have killed you?" His smile was fierce, predatory, proud. It shattered the binding that held you back. Sarah's wolf suddenly surged forward in her mind, no longer silent, no longer weak. The presence was massive, ancient, furious. Where before there had been a small, frightened creature, now there was a force of nature, prowling and powerful, ready to be unleashed. "Who are you?" Sarah whispered internally. "I am what they tried to hide," her wolf answered, her voice like thunder rolling across mountains. "I am what you were always meant to be. I am vengeance and protection and power incarnate. I am the matriarch, and I am done sleeping." They built a fire in the barn's safest corner, the Wraithguard wolves taking turns keeping watch. Kyle draped a cloak around Sarah's shoulders, thick fur-lined leather that smelled of winter storms and distant mountains. She pulled it close, not because she was cold anymore, but because the gesture felt like care, and she hadn't been cared for in what felt like lifetimes. The Wraithguard had shifted to human form, all except the 2 standing sentry. Sarah learned their names. Lyssa, the tactical second-in-command. Marcus, scarred and quiet. A tracker without equal. Finn and Rowan, twin brothers with matching grins and complementary fighting styles. Zara, who could read people like open books. Thorn, whose hands could heal or destroy with equal skill. Elena, whose voice could command or soothe. Ash, the youngest but fiercest. And Dax, the strategist who saw 12 moves ahead. The prophecy was recorded 3,000 years ago, Lisa explained. pulling out a worn leather journal. It's been passed down through the Wraithguard for generations. We're not a pack in the traditional sense. We're an order, bound by oath to find and protect the matriarch when she rises. She opened the journal to a page marked with a silver ribbon. The words were written in old script, but Sarah could read them clearly, as though her mind automatically translated, "When the moon bleeds silver and the first cold wind howls, the matriarch will rise from death and rejection, born of pain, crowned in fury, wrapped in moonlight. She will be stronger than alphas, gentler than healers, fiercer than warriors, wiser than elders. She will come when the old laws have broken the innocent, and she will remake the world in mercy and justice. 10 guardians will find her, sworn by prophecy and blood, and they will follow her unto the ending of all things." "That's impossible," Sarah whispered. "I'm nobody. I was a kitchen omega. I couldn't even keep my mate from—" Her voice broke. "He wasn't your mate." Kael's voice was hard as stone. "Fated bonds can be manipulated by dark magic. Someone wanted you bound to Darius specifically, knowing he would reject you. Knowing it would break the seal on your power. Who would do that? We don't know yet." Marcus spoke for the first time, his voice rough as gravel. "But we'll find them. We always do." Sarah looked down at her arm, where the silver pattern was growing more distinct by the hour. "What happens now?" "Now?" Kael's smile was fierce. "Now we teach you what you are. We unlock what was hidden, and we help you become the force that was always meant to reshape our world." "But I don't know how to—" "You will." He stood, offering his hand. "The first step is the hardest. You have to let your wolf free." Sarah took his hand, letting him pull her to her feet. Outside the barn, the blizzard had passed, leaving the world crystalline and new under the full moon. The Wraithguard followed them out, forming a protective circle. "Your wolf is fighting to emerge," Kael said. "You're holding her back because you're afraid. Afraid of the pain. Afraid of what it means. But Sarah, she's not going to hurt you. She's you, the truest version of yourself. Please," her wolf whispered inside. "Please let me show you what we are." Sarah closed her eyes and dropped every wall she'd built. The pain came first, bones beginning to shift, not breaking, but flowing, reshaping themselves with purpose. Then the power followed. It erupted from her core like a star-going supernova. Her transformation wasn't like the quick, practiced shifts of experienced wolves. This was elemental, primordial, a reshaping that shook the very ground beneath her feet. Silver light poured from her skin as fur emerged. Not the dull gray-brown of an omega, but radiant silver white that seemed to capture and reflect moonlight. Her body grew, muscles expanding with supernatural strength, bones lengthening until she towered over where she'd stood moments before. Her senses exploded outward. She could smell everything, every creature in the forest, every plant, every change in the wind. She could hear the heartbeats of the Wraithguard, fast with excitement. She could feel the earth itself beneath her paws, thrumming with ancient energy. When her wolf eyes opened, they glowed with ethereal light, violet threaded with silver, the colors of dawn and dusk combined. She was massive, larger than any alpha she'd ever seen, her shoulder height matching Kael's wolf form. Power radiated from her in waves, washing over the Wraithguard like a physical force. Sarah threw back her head and howled. The sound shattered across the landscape, primal and triumphant, carrying for miles. In Silverwood territory, alphas woke with their hearts racing. In the human lands to the south, people looked toward the mountains with ancient fear. In the northern territories, Old wolves remembered stories their grandmothers had told them and knew that something fundamental had just changed. The Wraithguard bowed, not submission, respect, recognition. "She is the matriarch," Kyle said, his voice ringing with certainty. "She is risen." The next weeks transformed everything. They moved deeper into the wilderness, to a place Kyle called the Sanctuary, a hidden valley that belonged to no pack, claimed by no territory. Ancient ruins dotted the landscape, remnants of the old world before the pack system, before the divisions of Alpha and Beta and Omega. This was where the Wraithguard trained, where they waited. Sarah learned to shift at will, the transformation becoming smoother each time. She learned to control the massive power that thrummed inside her, channeling it into specific abilities rather than letting it explode outward. She discovered she could sense emotions through scent with preternatural accuracy. When Finn felt guilty about stealing the last of Rowan's dried meat, his scent shifted to include sour notes of shame beneath his usual cedar and smoke. When Zara worried about an old injury, anxiety threaded through her bergamot and steel scent like bitter herbs. More remarkably, Sarah could heal. Thorn cut his hand while preparing dinner one evening, and when Sarah touched the wound, concerned, silver light flowed from her palm into his skin. The cut sealed seamlessly, leaving not even a scar. "That's impossible," Thorn breathed. "Only the ancient healers could do that, and they're extinct." "Nothing about her is impossible," Lissa said, watching with hungry fascination. "She's the matriarch. She rewrites the rules." But the most profound ability was command. One afternoon, when Marcus and Dax were sparring and their play turned too rough, Sarah felt something build in her chest. Before she could think about it, power rolled from her in a wave, and she spoke a single word. "Stop." Both wolves froze mid-lunge, not from fear, but from absolute instinctive obedience. The command hadn't been a suggestion. It had been a fundamental rewriting of their intent, impossible to resist. Sarah immediately released them, horrified. "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to—" "Don't apologize for your power," Kyle said firmly. He'd been watching from the ridge above, always watching, always close. That's Alpha voice, but magnified 100-fold. You can command any wolf beneath your power level, which is essentially every wolf in existence. You'll learn to control it, to use it only when necessary, but never apologize for what you are. He'd become her constant shadow, teaching, protecting, pushing her to be better. His scent of aged oak and winter snow had become as familiar as her own. She found herself seeking him out, drawn by something more than gratitude. The way he looked at her wasn't like Darius had looked at her, with barely concealed disgust. Kyle saw her, all of her, and in his storm-gray eyes, she saw respect, admiration, and something warmer that he kept carefully leashed. "Why did you search for me for 15 years?" she asked him one night. They sat on the ruins of an ancient wall, watching stars wheel overhead. The rest of the Wraithguard had given them space, settling into their evening routines. "Because the world needs you," Kyle said simply. "The pack system is broken. Alphas abuse their power. Omegas are treated as disposable. Rogues are hunted like animals instead of helped. Someone has to change it, and according to prophecy, that someone is you. But why you specifically? Why dedicate your whole life to searching?" He was quiet for a long moment. Then, "I was born into the Wraithguard. My father was the commander before me, and his father before him. But I stayed because I believed, because I've seen what happens when power goes unchecked. When the strong crush the weak and call it natural order." His jaw tightened. "My sister was an Omega, beautiful, kind, gifted with plants and healing. Her fated mate rejected her because she wasn't strong enough for his political ambitions. She died from the severing. Kyle. I was 15. I couldn't protect her, couldn't stop it. The pack law said it was his right. His hand clenched into a fist. I swore that day that if the matriarch ever rose, I would serve her with everything I had. Because she's the only one who can remake the laws. The only one who can ensure that what happened to my sister never happens again. Sarah reached out, covering his fist with her hand. His skin was warm, rough with old scars. I'm not sure I can be what everyone needs me to be. He turned his hand over, lacing his fingers through hers. The touch sent electricity up her arm. You already are. You just don't see it yet. The mate bond didn't snap into place. There was no mystical click of destiny forcing them together. But something deeper settled between them. Choice and respect and growing affection. This wasn't fate. It was better. It was real. The attack came on the dawn of the full moon, 3 weeks after Sarah's transformation. Elena woke her with a hand over her mouth and urgency in her bergamot scent. Scouts, she whispered. From Silverwood. They found the sanctuary. Sarah dressed quickly, pulling on the leather armor Lissa had made for her. Functional, flexible, marked with the symbol of the matriarch, a crowned wolf beneath a bleeding moon. By the time she emerged from her dwelling, the Wraithguard had assembled in defensive formation. Kyle stood at the center. Already shifted, his massive silver-white form radiating dangerous power. The others flanked him, all in wolf form except Zara, who could fight better with blades than claws. How many? Sarah asked. 23, Marcus rumbled from his wolf form, including Darius. Her heart clenched, but not with longing, with rage. They came through the valley's entrance like a war party, 23 wolves moving in practiced formation. Darius led them, his alpha form dark as midnight, amber eyes blazing. Victoria ran at his side, her beta form beautiful and deadly. Sarah recognized others from Silverwood, pack warriors, enforcers, wolves, who had watched her humiliation and done nothing. Darius shifted when he saw her, his human form rippling into existence. So you survived. His voice carried across the distance. Impressive for an Omega. But you're on our hunting grounds, and pack law says, your hunting grounds? Sarah's voice came out layered with power, resonating in frequencies that made every wolf flinch. You have no claim here. This valley belongs to no pack. It belongs to the matriarch. The matriarch is a fairy tale. Victoria shifted beside Darius, her human form wrapped in leather and fury. And you're a rejected Omega playing dress-up with rogues. Surrender now, and we'll make your end quick. Last chance, Darius said, his alpha voice rolling outward, trying to force submission. Kneel, and I'll show mercy. Sarah felt his command hit her like water off stone. It had no effect. None at all. She smiled, slow and dangerous. No. Victoria snarled and lunged, shifting mid-leap into her wolf form. She was fast, beta-born and battle-trained. Her teeth aimed for Sarah's throat. Sarah didn't even shift. She simply moved. Her hand caught Victoria mid-air by the throat, stopping her momentum completely. Power flooded from Sarah's palm, silver light erupting around them both. Victoria's wolf form shrank, whimpering, unable to maintain the shift under the weight of Sarah's dominance. You attacked first, Sarah said quietly. Remember that. She threw Victoria 20 feet across the clearing. The beta hit the ground hard, rolling to a stop at Darius's feet, human and gasping for air. Impossible, Darius whispered. You're just an... Say Omega one more time. Sarah's eyes flared with violet light. Please, I'm begging you. Kyle shifted behind her, his voice calm but carrying absolute authority. Darius Thornwood, you should know who you're facing. The 10 wolves behind me aren't rogues. We are the Wraithguard. We have protected the matriarch bloodline for 3,000 years. And the woman you rejected? His lips pulled back from his teeth. She is the matriarch reborn, the one your ancestors swore oaths to, the one your pack laws were originally designed to serve. Lies. But Darius's scent shifted, fear creeping in beneath the ozone and steel. Prove it, one of the Silverwood warriors called. If she's so powerful, let's see it. The Wraithguard shifted as one. The transformation was breathtaking and terrible. They weren't normal wolves. They were dire wolves, each one larger than any alpha, their forms crackling with ancient power. Kyle's silver-white coat gleamed like starlight. Lissa's golden form radiated solar heat. Marcus's dark gray fur seemed to drink in shadows. The twins, Finn and Rowan, moved in perfect synchronization, their red-brown coats identical. 10 dire wolves, each one a legend made flesh. The Silverwood war party stumbled backward. Several wolves whimpered, their instinct screaming at them to submit or flee. And you still haven't seen her true form, Kyle said, his dire wolf voice resonating with power that made the earth tremble. Sarah shifted. Her transformation was a cascade of silver light and overwhelming force. When she stood on 4 legs, she towered over even Kyle, her wolf form mythic and terrible and beautiful. Her fur shimmered with ethereal radiance, silver white threaded with veins of violet light. Her eyes glowed like captured starlight. Power radiated from her in waves that pressed down on every wolf present, forcing them to recognize what she was. The Silverwood wolves collapsed, their legs unable to hold them under the weight of her dominance. Even Darius fell to his knees, his amber eyes wide with horror and dawning comprehension. She is the matriarch, Kale declared, prophesied and risen, and you, Darius Thornwood, rejected your fate, severed your bond to power, and cast out the one wolf who could have elevated your pack to glory. Sarah padded forward, each step deliberate. She stopped in front of Darius, her massive form dwarfing his kneeling figure. When she spoke, her voice carried in his mind, intimate and devastating. You made a mistake. You didn't just reject a mate, you rejected destiny itself. Mercy, Darius gasped. Please, I didn't know. I thought... You thought I was worthless. You thought power came from bloodlines and politics. You thought Victoria's connections mattered more than the moon goddess's gift. Sarah's wolf form leaned down until her eyes were level with his. You were wrong. Kill me then, Darius said, his voice breaking. I deserve it. You do. Sarah shifted back to human form, standing over him in her leather armor, the moonlight catching the silver marks now visible all over her skin, the true markings of the matriarch. But I am not you. I don't destroy what can be redeemed. She turned to face the rest of the Silverwood wolves. You will return to your territory. You will tell your pack what you witnessed here. And you will deliver a message to every alpha within 5 territories. The matriarch has returned. The old laws are ended. The new laws begin with these words. She let her power roll outward, her voice resonating with command that couldn't be denied. No wolf may be rejected for their rank. No omega shall be treated as less than any other. No mate may be severed without proof of genuine incompatibility, judged by neutral parties. Rogues will be offered sanctuary, not hunted. And any alpha who abuses their power will answer to me. She looked down at Victoria, who was still struggling to breathe. As for you, you orchestrated this. You poisoned Darius against me, manipulated him with promises of power and connection. For that, You are banished from all territories under my protection. You will wander as a true rogue until you learn that power, without honor, is nothing." "You can't," Victoria started. "I can." Sarah's eyes flared. "I am the matriarch. This is my territory now. All of it. Every pack. Every border. Every law. You just don't know it yet." She turned to Darius one final time. "You will return to Silverwood and implement these laws. You will bring my parents to the border of this valley tomorrow at sunset. They have answers to provide. If you do this, your pack will be protected under my rule. If you refuse—" Kyle stepped forward, his storm-gray eyes promising violence. "We'll return," Darius said quickly. "Tomorrow. Sunset. Your parents will be there. Then go." The Silverwood wolves fled, carrying Victoria's unconscious form between them. Darius was the last to leave, looking back once with an expression of profound regret and dawning horror at what he'd lost. When they were gone, Sarah's legs finally gave out. Kyle caught her before she hit the ground, his strong arms wrapping around her, his scent of oak and winter surrounding her like safety. "You did it," he murmured into her hair. "You claimed your throne." "I'm not done yet," she whispered back. "My parents next, then the other territories. Then you rest," Kyle interrupted firmly. "Even matriarchs need sleep." The Wraithguard surrounded them, a protective wall of loyalty and found family. Elena began singing an old song, something about moonlight and warrior queens. Finn and Rowan argued about who had looked more intimidating in their dire wolf forms. Zara started a fire, while Thorn checked everyone for injuries. For the first time since her rejection, Sarah felt what she'd lost that night. Home. Except this home was real. This home was earned. This home was hers. Her parents arrived at sunset, exactly as commanded. They looked smaller than Sarah remembered. Her father, once a respected beta warrior, seemed hunched with guilt. Her mother couldn't meet her eyes, her gentle omega scent carrying layers of shame. Darius had brought them, and nothing more. No guards, no threats. He waited at the valley's edge while Sarah faced the two people who had bound her power and condemned her to a life of suffering. "Explain," Sarah said simply. Her mother broke first, tears streaming down her face. "We thought we were protecting you. The last matriarch, she was hunted, killed. They said she was too powerful, too much of a threat to the natural order. We didn't want that for you." "So you bound my power as an infant," Sarah said flatly. "Made me an omega. Made me suffer for 22 years. We used blood magic," her father admitted, his voice rough with emotion. "Old magic. Forbidden magic. We found a witch who could seal away your wolf, suppress your abilities. It was supposed to keep you safe, invisible. It made me a target." Sarah's hands clenched into fists. Every alpha who saw a weak omega to manipulate. Every beta who saw someone to command. Every wolf who saw something beneath them. Her voice rose. "You didn't protect me. You abandoned me to cruelty and called it love. We were wrong." Her mother's voice broke. "We see that now. When Darius rejected you, the binding broke, just as the witch warned it would. She said only profound pain could shatter blood magic that strong. We hoped," she choked on a sob, "we hoped you'd never have to endure that pain. But you let me endure being an omega my entire life instead." Sarah looked at them both, these strangers who had shaped her suffering. "Did you love me at all? Or was I just a problem to hide? We loved you." Her father stepped forward, stopping when Kyle growled a warning. "We love you still. But we were cowards. We chose our fear over your freedom. And there is no forgiveness we can ask for. That would be enough. Sarah stood silent for a long moment, feeling her wolf stir inside her, urging vengeance. It would be easy to punish them, to make them feel even a fraction of what she'd endured. But vengeance wouldn't heal her. It would only create more pain. "You will return to Silverwood," she finally said. "You will work with Darius to implement the new laws. You will personally ensure that no Omega in that pack suffers what I suffered. And every day, you will remember that your daughter is not the weak, helpless thing you created, but the matriarch you tried to hide." "That's all?" her father asked, shocked. "That's all?" Sarah turned away, unable to look at them anymore. "Go. You have work to do." They left, her mother sobbing, her father supporting her. Sarah felt Kale's presence behind her, steady and warm. "You showed them mercy," he observed. "I showed them purpose." Sarah leaned back against his chest, letting him take her weight. "Revenge would make me feel better for a moment. Making them fix what they helped break. That's justice." His arms came around her, careful but possessive. "You're going to reshape this entire world, aren't you?" "I'm going to try." She turned in his embrace, looking up at those storm-gray eyes that had become her anchor. "Would you help me?" "Always." He leaned down, his forehead resting against hers. "I swore an oath to the matriarch." "But this," his hand came up to cup her face, "this is a choice. My choice." When he kissed her, it was gentle and fierce, and absolutely certain. No magical bond forcing them together, no fated destiny demanding compliance, just two people who had found each other, who had chosen each other, who would build something real instead of mystical. The Wraith Guard cheered from their positions around the valley. Finn wolf whistled. Rowan threw a pine cone at his brother. Lissa smiled, rare and genuine. When Sarah finally pulled back, she was smiling too. "So what now, Commander?" "Now?" Kyle grinned, fierce and bright. "Now we prepare. You've claimed this territory, but there are 4 more ruling territories, and dozens of smaller packs. They'll come to test you, to challenge your authority. We need to be ready. Let them come." Sarah looked out over the sanctuary, this hidden valley that had become her throne room, her training ground, her home. "I am the matriarch. This is my territory, and I am done hiding." Power radiated from her as she spoke, washing over the valley like a benediction. Where it touched, plants grew stronger. Where it passed, old magic awakened. The very earth recognized her claim, accepted her sovereignty. The prophecy had been right. She had risen from death and rejection, born of pain, crowned in fury, wrapped in moonlight. And she was only beginning. And so Sarah's journey transformed from tragedy to triumph. The Omega who was cast aside became the queen who remade the world. The wolf who was rejected became the one who chose her own fate. She learned that power isn't given by rank or bloodline. It's claimed by those brave enough to embrace who they truly are. In the nights that followed, her legend spread. Alphas learned to rule with justice instead of cruelty. Omegas learned they were never less than anyone else. And the Wraith Guard, those 10 ancient guardians, finally found the purpose they'd searched for across generations. But as the first blood moon rose over the sanctuary, Kyle noticed something that made his warrior's instincts prickle with warning. In the distance, beyond their borders, something ancient was stirring. Something that had been sleeping since the last matriarch fell. "What is it?" Sarah asked, following his gaze. "Old enemies," Kyle said quietly. "The ones who killed the last matriarch. They'll have felt your power awakening." "They'll come." Sarah's smile was sharp as broken glass. "Good. Let them come." Because she wasn't the frightened Omega anymore. She was the matriarch, surrounded by her chosen family, bonded to a male who saw her true worth, crowned in power that had been earned through suffering and survival. She was ready for whatever came next. What did you think of Sarah's transformation? Have you ever felt like your true power was hidden, waiting to emerge? Drop a comment below and let me know what you'd do with matriarch abilities. And if you loved this story, make sure to hit that like button, share it with your pack, and subscribe for more epic werewolf tales. Click that notification bell so you never miss when the next chapter drops. Because Sarah's story isn't over. The blood moon is rising, ancient enemies are gathering, and the matriarch's first true test is about to begin. Thank you for listening to the tale of Sarah Whitlock, the Omega who became a queen. We'll see you in the next chapter. Until then, remember, your worth isn't determined by how others see you. It's determined by who you choose to become.